A man that I've never met read something I wrote about driving my daughter to new student college orientation. And in that moment, experiencing the quiet identity shifts that happen when people we love begin to need us differently. Then he stopped by my LinkedIn post to leave a comment to let me know that I've extracted too much meaning from my own life, which was generous, really. I had apparently forgotten to outsource the interpretation of my interior world to a stranger on the internet. His comment didn't devastate me. It irritated me. It activated the group chat. And then it handed me a lesson for this episode. What happens when someone tells you that it isn't that deep? And why does that statement, phrase, or voice sound so familiar, even if it's not coming from a dude in your comment section? Welcome to Over This Should podcast for women who are ready to stop organizing their lives around everyone else's expectations and start asking what they actually want. Let's get into it. A few days ago, I was driving my daughter to new student college orientation at the University of South Carolina. Go Gamecocks. South Carolina was in front of us, but this version of motherhood that I had known for nearly 19 years with her was somewhere in the rearview mirror. The car was filled with bags, directions, snacks, and all the feelings I had not been saying too loudly around my daughter. This was a beautiful moment in her life, and she didn't need to carry mom's big, big feelings too. But the transitions in life, they don't happen with a script. Sometimes a milestone simply climbs into the car somewhere on I 95. Your daughter's sitting beside you, looking completely ready for the life ahead of her, and you're trying to act completely normal about it. I am not going to crown that podcast episode. I was excited for her. I am excited for her. She worked for this. She's ready. But somewhere between Virginia and South Carolina, a quieter question climbed into the car with us. Who am I when she doesn't need me the same way anymore? I'll still be her mom. She'll still love me. She'll still need me. But she won't need this exact version of me. The one who remembers to sign every form, anticipates every problem, and takes her clothes to the laundry room because this girl has maintained a long and principled opposition to the washing machine. I don't only love through affection. I've learned to love through logistics. I love through remembering. I love by noticing what might fall and get underneath it before it hits the floor. And for a really long time in my life, being needed was how I knew I mattered. And some of that was love, beautiful, generous, ordinary love. Replace the toilet paper so nobody wonders how they're going to wipe their hiney kind of love. But some of it was also me quietly propping up my own worth by making myself indispensable. Does that sound familiar? That's the part we often don't say out loud. Sometimes being the reliable one isn't merely a personality trait. Sometimes it becomes a bargain. I will be useful, and in exchange, I get to belong. I will carry it, and in exchange, no one questions my value. I'll make sure that everything runs smoothly, and then I will never have to wonder whether I still matter. So I wrote a LinkedIn post about it. I wrote about how so many capable women become the person who keeps everything running at home and the high performer who never drops the ball at work. Everyone learns she can carry it, and eventually she believes she has to carry it. And most of the response was warm. Women told me they felt seen. One person called me a role model mom. Word to the wise, I'm not a role model mom. I am winging it most days with a shared calendar and a little bit of a prayer. And then a man, who I don't need to name, entered the chat. His LinkedIn headline included founder, CEO, and forensic strategist. In essence, his comment said that not every personal moment needs to become a broader lesson about identity, burnout, leadership, or life. He says, sometimes life is simply life, and that's it. My first response was physical. My shoulders rose, my jaw tightened, my thumb hovered over the screen, ready to clap back. The nervous system's fast, but the imaginary LinkedIn reply is faster. I composed 17 responses in my head. One may have gently questioned whether his forensic strategy credentials had prepared him for the forensic work of clicking on my profile. Because if he had, he might have noticed that I speak directly to women who've become the reliable ones, women whose identity has become tangled up in being the leader, the mother, the wife, the fixer, women who need to remember that those roles can be untangled and they'll still be there, still worthy, even when they're not performing usefulness for everyone around them. That is my platform. So naturally, I briefly questioned his investigative capabilities. I did not post that. I sent a screenshot to the group chat like a responsible adult. But underneath the irritation, I recognized something. He did not disprove the meaning of my post. He accidentally demonstrated another part of it. Control doesn't always look like carrying the task. Sometimes it looks like deciding what another person's experience is allowed to mean. And what interested me most was not that a stranger said it, it was how familiar he sounded. He didn't say, "This doesn't resonate with me," or "I experienced this transition differently." Both of those would have been fair. He essentially said, "You're assigning more significance to your experience than it requires." He volunteered to become the editor of my lived experiences on a platform where people routinely turn delayed flights, cold showers, sourdough starters, and their children's lemonade stand into a 7-part lesson series on executive leadership. A man could post about missing a flight and discover the future of an organizational transformation. A woman named something true about identity, and suddenly the genre police have arrived. Ma'am, step away from the metaphor. We have reports that you're feeling something in public. Now, I didn't know this man. His comment may have been well intentioned. He may genuinely believe we rob ordinary moments of their beauty when we turn every one of them into a lesson. And there is some truth in that. Not every sunset needs to become content. Sometimes your coffee machine breaks because it's 7 years old and you've ignored the warning light 3 times in a row. Sometimes life is simply life. But here's the distinction: the person living the moment gets to decide whether it carries meaning. You don't need a permit or someone else's permission to experience your own life deeply. You don't owe anyone a shallower interpretation because your depth makes them uncomfortable. This is an old script that so many women know. "You're making too much of this. Calm down. Don't be so sensitive. It's not that serious. You're overthinking it. Don't make it a whole thing." Those are different words with the same instruction. Make your experience smaller. Make your response quieter. Make your knowing less inconvenient. Being able to shrink yourself for another person's comfort does not mean shrinking yourself is your life assignment. You may be exceptionally skilled at making yourself digestible. So many women have been trained to be that. That doesn't mean you're required to spend your whole life in bite sized pieces. And this is why I'm spending an episode on one comment from a total stranger. Most of you don't need a man like this in your comment section. You already have this guy installed. Not this particular man, I hope, but the operating system running quietly in the background. The one that tells you, maybe I'm making too much of this. Other people have it worse. I should just let it go. I should stop being so dramatic. The inner critic and the outer critic often have the exact same dialect. Let's get nerdy for a second. Research on social rejection suggests that it can engage some of the same brain regions involved in the distressing emotional experience of physical pain. No, a LinkedIn comment is not the neurological equivalent of breaking your femur. Please don't put that on a graphic and cite me. But your nervous system is not completely neutral when someone publicly corrects, dismisses, or excludes you. Your body may respond before the rational part of your brain even understands the criticism. And listen, your physical response doesn't mean the criticism is correct. It means the nervous system notices that there's a possible social threat. And then identity enters the conversation. Every time we're rewarded for rescuing, praised for never dropping a ball, or lovingly called the rock, that identity gets reinforced. You become the capable one, the mother who knows, the leader who fixes, the friend who can handle it. And when the role begins to change, you're not merely losing tasks, you're losing part of your identity. You may be losing a mirror. And the question then pops in: who am I when nobody needs this version of me that I was being praised for becoming? That's why good transitions can still feel disorienting. My daughter becoming independent is good. It means something's going right. But part of me still has to learn that her independence is not evidence of my irrelevance. Her needing me differently does not mean she loves me less. And my worth was never supposed to depend on creating permanent dependence in the people I love. Are you a mom and hearing this? That is where self-compassion becomes more than a sweet phrase pinned on our Pinterest boards. Researcher Kristen Neff describes self-compassion through 3 elements: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. A 2023 meta-analysis of 56 randomized control trials found that self-compassion focused interventions produced small to moderate immediate reductions in depression, anxiety, and stress. Self compassion is not coddling yourself or pretending everything you do is perfect. It's responding to yourself with enough kindness and awareness that you can choose your next move instead of being driven by shame. So when I read the forensic strategist comment, self compassion sounded like this. Of course, that hooked you for a second. It touched an old bargain. The bargain that says you must be helpful, agreeable, and useful and easy to understand in order to belong. But listen, a bargain you made a long time ago does not have to become a lifelong contract. So, what do you do when someone says, it's not that deep, or when your inner voice starts saying it for them? I want to give you a 3-step practice. Step 1, catch the contraction. Before you compose the response, defend the choice, or build the PowerPoint presentation proving why you're allowed to have a feeling, notice your body. Did your shoulders rise? Did your stomach tighten? The contraction is information. It's not proof that you're wrong. It's a cue to pause before the old protective pattern takes the microphone. Step 2, name the rule. Ask yourself, what old rule just got activated? Maybe it's, I'm too much, I need to shrink. I must be useful to matter. I must be agreeable to belong. I must explain myself until everyone approves. Name the rule clearly. You can't challenge a rule that's still hiding behind who you think you are. Step 3, choose the size. Ask yourself, does this moment need to be released, explored, or acted upon? Sometimes it just needs to be released. Sometimes, to this gentleman's point, life is really just life. You can let the coffee machine break without calling it a spiritual awakening. But sometimes the moment needs to be explored because it touched something old or tender. And sometimes it requires action, a boundary, a hard conversation, a change in how responsibilities are distributed. You get to choose the size of the moment, not the critic, not the dude in your comments, not the person who benefits from your silence, not the stranger who found your post between 2 leadership carousels and decided your inner life required forensic analysis. And when you're unsure, ask one more question. Whose comfort is served by me making myself smaller? Sometimes making the moment smaller genuinely serves you. It protects your peace. But sometimes making it smaller protects the people or systems that rely on you over functioning. If you call the workload just life, no one has to help you carry it. If you call the exhaustion just a busy season, no one has to question why every season is busy. If you call your disappearing identity motherhood, no one has to ask what you need. That is worth noticing. The road to South Carolina kept unspooling before us. My daughter was still beside me, still my daughter, still someone I love beyond language. She still needs me, just differently. And perhaps the next chapter of motherhood isn't about gripping the old role harder so I can continue proving that I matter. Perhaps it's learning how to love her without making her dependence the receipt of my worth. Maybe the question's not only, who am I when she doesn't need me in the same way anymore? Maybe the question becomes, who do I get to become when love no longer requires me to carry everything? What could you finally set down if you trusted that neither the world nor your worth would fall apart without you holding it? And what truth have you been making smaller because someone outside of you or inside your own mind might call it too much? The should I'm over today is I should make the meaning of my life smaller so other people feel more comfortable with it. No, thank you. My life is allowed to be ordinary. It's also allowed to be meaningful, big, bold, full of stories. Sometimes it gets to be both, but nobody ever gets to tell me what it is for me. If this episode put words around something you've been carrying, leave a review for me. I'd love to know that you are enjoying this episode as much as I enjoy recording it. Make sure you follow Over This Should, because apparently we're out here turning LinkedIn comments into personal transformation, as one does. I would love for you to message me on Instagram and tell me what should you are personally over. You can find me at the Pamela Meadows or at overthisshould_podcast. I will see you next time.